Meet Mary. Mary is 83 years old and suffers from Alzheimer's disease. Say hello, Mary.
Neurons are nervous cells that send and receive electrical messages. The message is received by the dendrites and is sent through the cell body. It is then sent down the axon and across the synaptic cleft, over to the postsynaptic neurons' dendrites. Inside the neurons there are important tau proteins that bind other proteins together to make microtubules. Microtubules are organelles that are responsible for supporting the shape of the cell and guiding molecules and nutrients to and from the cell body and axon. Microtubules are coiled structures made up of proteins which help with their function. In a person with Alzheimer's disease, the microtubules disintegrate for unknown reasons, which free up the tau protein. The tau protein then binds to other tau proteins, forming neurofibrillary tangles. The tangles reside in the cell body of the neurons and make it impossible to transport molecules and nutrients through the cell, resulting in the death of the neuron. In a person with Alzheimer's disease, plaques build up in the ECF. These plaques are made from excessive beta-amyloid peptide, which is a protein fragment that is cut from amyloid precursor protein, APP. These plaques form in between the neurons and prevent cell-to-cell communication. When neurons are not used, they slowly lose their ability to function and they eventually die. The parts of the brain that are affected by the cell death are the hippocampus, basal forebrain, premotor, and prefrontal cortex, all of which make up the memory circuit. The hippocampus is responsible for forming memories and learning. The premotor cortex is involved in planning basic motor movements and sequences, such as playing an instrument. It also controls voluntary actions based on sensory feedback, such as removing a hand from a hot plate. The prefrontal cortex is involved in task management, working memory for object recalling and spatial tasks, and solving complex or multitask problems. The basal nuclei has many functions. Its main roles are related to motor function, cognition, and emotion, and filtering out inappropriate responses. The basal forebrain is involved in learning and the production of acetylcholine. A normal brain has a chemical called choline acetyltransferase that resides in the cortex and the hippocampus. This chemical is what synthesizes acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter associated with memory. In the brain of someone with Alzheimer's disease, the chemical choline acetyltransferase has decreased, which in turn decreases the level of acetylcholine. The decrease in these chemicals is directly related to the amount of plaques created in the ECF. It is because of this decrease in choline acetyltransferase that the memory circuit is affected, as the neurotransmitter needed is no longer of appropriate quantities, resulting in an increased number of plaques. Therefore, there is an inability to transport messages. Risk factors of Alzheimer's disease include age, head trauma, inflammatory factors, oxidative stress, and gene mutation. Genes that cause early onset Alzheimer's are APP gene on chromosome 21, penicillin 1 on chromosome 14, penicillin 2 on chromosome 1, and an allele of apolipoprotein E on chromosome 19 increases your risk as well as lowers the age of onset.
Mary has become forgetful and sometimes gets lost. She often becomes confused and disoriented. As she progresses through her disease, Mary may experience the following: impaired abstract thinking, changes in personality, lack of spontaneity, depression, neglect of personal hygiene, impaired language, and behavioral changes.
Unfortunately for Alzheimer's disease, there is no cure and there are no actual diagnostic testing, but there is drug therapy, which is a form of treatment. Some of the drugs that are used are cholinesterase inhibitors, which slow the progression of potentiating the action of available acetylcholine, as well as memantine, which provides symptomatic improvement through effects on hippocampal neuron function. The prevention measures that can be taken to prevent Alzheimer's disease are keeping active as well as staying educated. Okay. Summary. Proteins that are involved in Alzheimer's disease include tau proteins, an amyloid precursor protein. The tau proteins abandon their role of binding the microtubules together and stick to one another, making microfibrillary tangles. These prevent the transport of molecules and nutrients through the neuron. The amyloid precursor protein is affected as it is produced in too large of quantities, which results in neuritic plaques. Homeostasis is affected by the buildup of neuritic plaques in the ECF, which prevents neural communication, as well as the decrease of choline acetyltransferase, which results in the decrease of acetylcholine.
Say goodbye, Mary.